Ping pong and knife throwing clash in a stunt like nothing you've ever seen.
She could lose a head, she could lose her life.
A Ukrainian strongman uses his bare hands as an iron hammer.
The nail could actually penetrate the palm.
And a Shaolin monk's life hangs in the balance on 5-pointed spears.
Fear is good. Fear protects us. He doesn't have it.
Fact, fakes, or flukes.
What's gonna happen? I don't know.
We'll dissect these amazing web videos and break down the science behind them. Right now on Superhuman Science. This is Miss Ping in a back alley near Stockholm, Sweden. And dangers in the air. Sharpening his knives is slightly Mad Max. They're entertainers with the Toomba Ping Pong Show. This clandestine troupe paddles much more than ping pong balls.
Hitting knives with ping pong paddles? All right, that's pretty impressive.
I love this video. I applaud every effort that they took to make this video look this way.
And this stunt is helping the Toomba Ping Pong Show become a bit of a sensation online.
Right now we're at the secret training facility for the Toomba Ping Pong Show.
They're from Toomba, a town about 25 kilometers from Stockholm.
They train every day. This is what they do.
Jim says it requires intense preparation to perform the stunts.
They're incredibly dangerous, and there have been accidents.
Miss Ping is the group's first female guest star.
Who volunteers to be the woman with the ping pong paddles?
She's fearless. It's incredibly dangerous. If there's a mistake, she could lose a finger, a hand. She could lose a head. She could lose her life.
This is the team's most dangerous trick to date, and it warrants a closer look.
If you even ever tried to throw a knife into a target, you hold the blade or you hold the handle and you're spinning it end over end. The way that those knives are hit is giving them a rotation that should wobble as it goes through the air.
Slightly Mad Max has a very different approach, one that might break the laws of physics.
I don't think he's quite applying the right amount of force that you would need to get that knife going in the same sort of trajectory that he has in the video.
I don't believe, based on what we saw in the frame, that that would have happened the way it was shown.
Our experts are mixed on whether this is real or a ruse.
The fact is, there are people who can throw knives incredibly accurately from great distances. This seems completely plausible to me. Ridiculously incredible, but plausible.
Examining the video in slow motion reveals more.
You can see that her skirt gets lifted up by something, and it is in direct correlation with the one paddle. That could happen if the knife were already in the paddle.
I think we see a hit on his side, and I think we see a catch on her side, but I don't think the time gap in between is the appropriate time gap for the force he'd be hitting those objects.
We think we see the knife flying through the air. The question is, do we actually see the knife flying through the air?
He's dropped the original knife, and they've added a 3D knife flying from his paddle to her paddle in compositing in visual effects.
And the second paddle is clearly skewered before the flying knife arrives.
Masking out the tip of a knife on a paddle is very easy to manipulate in visual effects. So the knife is already there, you just don't see it until she flips to the backside of the knife.
Also, it does appear that the pineapple is severed before the knife makes contact.
You didn't have any kind of momentary delay from the knife actually slicing through it. It may not even go all the way to the other end of the pineapple, honestly, when it goes off. And the pineapple is too clean of a cut for this situation.
It would be very easy in visual effects to have that pineapple already split and on a wire. The wall in the background is a great texture to be able to mask the string out of the shot in visual effects.
Even the ping pong ball appears to take off 2 impossible frames early.
Wait a minute, let's see that again.
So is the Toomba team's true talent slicing fruit with ping pong paddles or splicing video with special effects? Either way, their stunts attract millions of viewers online.
I think it is some kind of sleight of hand, but you know what? I had to watch this a few times in order to actually figure that out.
I love to see this kind of thing. Keep it up. The more special effects, the better.
From knives to nails, next, a twisted stunt of strength. If you ever need a hand, try asking Denis Pahomov. The man with palms of steel. This Ukrainian strongman drives nails with his bare hands.
This guy looks pretty incredible.
This guy obviously has lots of physical strength.
Hard as it is to believe, our experts say it's real. Real risky.
All it takes is hitting that nail one time at the wrong angle, and all of a sudden the nail could actually penetrate the palm.
Anyone could do this as long as they can first get past the mental hurdle of slamming a nail into a piece of wood with their bare hand.
And how many times have we wanted to do that, right?
How does Denis do it? First, he's conditioned himself specifically for this.
A lot of the impact there gets translated up his arm and into his body. And in order to handle that impact, a lot of muscles need to be in place to sort of brace against.
He's using his arm, he's using his shoulder, he's using everything he's got to be able to pound that nail hard enough to get in.
Beyond strength, he's got forces of science working for him.
One of the key elements to this is how far back he's pulling his hand before he even starts. The momentum that he's creating as the nail hits the wood is really the driving force behind it. There's not much more effort that's required to push the nail through once it's already penetrated the full depth of the wood.
While it is possible, don't sell your hammers just yet.
So we know in the human body, there are 207 bones. In a single hand, over 10% of your bones are in your hand.
He doesn't just hold it any which way. He has a very specific way he does that.
So it's not any one bone that takes the impact. That force can be distributed throughout the hand and then throughout the ligaments in his hand.
One key is that the nails Denis uses are bigger than most.
You increase the head of the nail by a small amount, you decrease the amount of pressure on the palm every time you hit it.
And if you have a force you're applying over a bigger area, then the pressure you're experiencing is going to be lower. This pressure is force divided by the area.
Denis's hammer hands are also now used to this kind of beating.
Any power lifter is going to have hands that are already like leather.
You basically develop thick calluses on your palms from continuous trauma. And the continuous trauma causes thickening of the skin.
Pain plays a role too. The more often he hammers with his hands, the less pain he might feel.
We have nerve endings throughout our body that tell the body when to feel pain or really when to sense anything. I'm sure he has lost some sensation in his palm from the continuous trauma.
No pain, no gain is Denis's motto, and his hammer hands make him, if not superhuman, certainly an amazing showman.
That was definitely incredible.
Up next, a daring balancing act on the heads of spears. And still ahead, some eye-popping bullseye long shots. And
We have boiling hot
homemade
water.
snow.
And whoa!
Our next video takes place in Hong Kong. A group of Shaolin monks prepare to demonstrate their skills. In this feat, one monk steels himself to balance on 5 spearheads.
If they started jostling or moving forward or disrupting the situation at all, he would probably get stabbed.
If just one spear pushes through, it could be the end.
If in fact those spears are sharp and they penetrate, could potentially be deadly.
The Shaolin Kung Fu monks spend their entire lives training to cheat death.
This looks like it could be very painful. Very likely he's done a lot of meditation to sort of block out some of this pain.
They always prepare themselves with deep meditation. But is there more going on than mind over matter?
They make a lot of show out of this, build it up as a big performance, but it's really all about physics.
Our experts explain the science behind the stunt.
They help lift the monk up into the air, and then they place the spears, and then they let go of the weight. So what's really going on here is that the full weight of this monk is being distributed among the 5 different spear tips.
The distribution across 5 points on his body reduces the amount of force, not to mention pain, from any one point.
Bruce Lee was about 60 kilograms. Divided by 5 spears means that's about 12 kilograms per spear. That's placed on each pressure point. That's not necessarily enough to wedge his body onto these spears in any sort of detrimental way to him.
If you were to try to lift him up one tip at a time, surely you would puncture his skin and cause injury.
Throughout the stunt, all of the monks are mentally and physically in sync.
After he's been balancing on these spears for a while, the people who are operating them have to take them away at the same time. Otherwise, he's gonna get skewered.
They're also keenly aware of where the spears need to go.
Placement of those spears is crucial. You don't want to place those spears anywhere where there's a superficial nerve that's gonna be injured.
They don't place them out at his hands. They actually place them near his shoulders and near his feet. So some very stable parts of his body.
As long as they're in good spots and as long as they're all equal, there's not one that's gonna be poking through his body.
Still, with spear tips digging into his flesh, is this monk a super warrior or superhuman?
It's not so much superhuman as a good example of super science.
From stabbing pains, we shift next to some hard-to-believe shots in the dark. This group of Americans is on a constant quest to make the perfect stunt shot. Every week, they release another stunt video that just doesn't seem real.
I do think these are real. I just think it took them a really long time.
I tried for a while, and then our good buddy Garrett tried for a while, and we were really struggling until I said, guys, I can make this shot, and I said, no, you can't. And he walks up here.
Yeah, I can.
Second try or third try?
I believe it was third.
Third try.
They call themselves Dude Perfect, and their mission seems impossible. So is it? Our experts take a closer look.
I don't think this is a fluke or a fake. I actually think that this is real throughout the entire trajectory of the ball. It's inside the shot, which kind of makes me think that this is not a fake.
These guys definitely have some skill, and it might seem impossible what they're doing, but it really is possible.
This one right here is definitely real. The camera swing on that shot would be very difficult to fake in 3D.
That's what I'm talking about!
Okay, possible, maybe. But how probable is anyone's guess?
You know that some of these are 1 in a million shots, and you wonder if they maybe just filmed it a million times.
I don't know if I go 1 in a million, maybe 1 in 100,000, maybe 1 in 10,000, depending on how lucky they get.
But making the impossible a reality takes more than luck or even dogged perseverance.
They have to have the physical strength to be able to lob the ball that far. They have to have great hand-eye coordination to be able to see where they're going to shoot it and then hit that target. And they have to have practiced a lot.
There's also a bit of science involved.
For what they're doing, there's a lot of physics going on.
Anytime a ball is thrown, you're looking at a projectile.
Any object moving in projectile motion will move in a parabola. You give it a speed, it's gonna have that speed the entire duration of the trip.
When the ball is thrown from on high, the shot is horizontal, so it moves in a half parabolic arc, and it falls toward the goal naturally.
They're able to hit these shots from hundreds and hundreds of meters away because not only are they throwing the ball, but they're letting gravity take it the rest of the way.
And you can figure out exactly how fast you need to throw the ball if you know how high above the ground you are and where the basketball hoop actually is. But they're not calculating that at all.
Yet they continue making unbelievable shots. So what separates them from the rest of us?
These guys are side-arming, throwing it like a baseball or like a football, and not like a basketball, because they have momentum, they get some acceleration, and they have a much longer distance through which to build up the force before they release the ball. so they can get a lot more force behind it.
Our experts also say they have a natural keen sense of spatial relations.
They have some kind of inherent knowledge of the projectile motion.
It doesn't even look like they're aiming at all. They're just taking the ball and then, yeah, it gets in.
At the end of the day, it appears practice makes dude perfect.
It's unique because few people bother practicing it.
And anything can be improved with practice.
While their precision and skill are mind-boggling, the jury is out on whether this is superhuman.
They don't seem concerned about anything. They're just having a great time.
From long shots, we leap to incredible bike stunts that will take your breath away. This is not your typical bike commuter heading to work. This is American freestyle cyclist Tim Knoll of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And for Tim, riding his bike is about much more than just getting from A to B.
The first time I was actually able to pull off my first trick successfully, it was one of the most empowering feelings.
Staircases, sign poles, even parked cars. They're all fair game for Tim, a virtuoso BMX bike stunt rider. Even our scientists marvel at how what Tim does is possible on two wheels. Or sometimes just one.
With his bike, he obviously knows how to control it, how to position himself on it in order to balance himself.
What he has developed, far beyond the average person, of course, is his balance. And it didn't just come naturally to him.
So how does Tim do it? In part, he's developed near superhuman control over his own body to pull off these wild moves.
He knows how to position himself over that part of the bike frame to balance everything, to make his center of mass cooperate in order to actually achieve what he's trying to do.
He uses his momentum to change his trajectories. And so when he hits an obstacle, he pulls up the bike, and so his center of mass keeps moving up, and he can actually take the bike, which is now an extension of his body really, up over walls, sidewalks, side rails, to perform a lot of these amazing tricks.
I don't think it's quite an innate trait that he has, but he has a good mastery of his own body and being able to balance with his specialized equipment of the bike.
A lot of it, I think, happens in my subconscious mind. I kind of train my brain after a while to sort of rewire itself and get used to certain movements, so they become automatic after a while.
But does Tim have something that the rest of us don't? One thing he could have is naturally stronger bones, or longer bones, that could absorb more of the impact. Plus, the continual pounding his body takes from the frequent bike stunts could stimulate bone density and joint strength.
Healthy bones are actually spongy on the inside. That's where all the live bone marrow lives. So when a healthy body lands, and lands properly, the bones will flex a little bit. And to aid in that flexion, you also want to actually bend your knees where you have joints to sort of take the load off of the longer bones in your body when that impact happens.
And so, while it may not quite qualify as superhuman, it's certainly truly extraordinary. Finally, from stunt riding, we switch to a mix of hot water and frosty magic.
Hi guys, this is Novosibirsk and this is about -41.
It's winter in Siberia, and Dmitry Klemensky wants to put science to the test.
We want to see what happens to just boiled water outside.
He plans to transform this pot of boiling water into something spectacular. He creates an instant ice crystal snowfall, 7 stories tall.
I absolutely love this man. Why do I love this man? Because when he's interested in science, he just goes and does it.
One of the most fun parts of chemistry is watching stuff precipitate.
What you see is this beautiful cloud of water droplets.
You can actually see it coming down and down and down and just falling and falling and making more and more snow as it comes down.
This video has got millions of hits online. partly because it's fascinating to see how quickly water can change to snow or ice.
You see it steaming, you know how hot that water actually is, and you know how cold it is outside. They're getting ready, they're about to throw the water, throw it, and it automatically turns into snow.
It's inspired everyday people all over the world to try it themselves.
The water is about 203.5 degrees, and you can see that it's negative 10.4 outside.
What's gonna happen? I don't know, just go try it out.
We have a cup of boiling hot water, and whoa, oh my god.
This might not be one of Mother Nature's best known magic tricks, but our experts can tell us exactly what's going on.
This is an extremely cool example of science that you can't do every day. You need a huge temperature difference to make this work.
In this situation, the very cold air is absolutely necessary, but the other necessary component is boiling water.
When you take water and you heat it up, you're actually putting a lot of energy into this water.
Boiling water has the molecules so hot they're dancing around, and you're right at the interface of where it's liquid and where it's trying to become gas.
When the water hits the air, it's a powerful collision.
When those molecules actually experience that huge temperature difference, they're kind of going into shock and finding different particles in the air to attach themselves to that are really cold. And when that happens, you actually have this creation of the solid, the snow crystal, coming from that water vapor.
Given the right conditions, just about anyone can make it snow.
The most interesting part of this is that it wouldn't work with cold water, and it wouldn't work if you were just pouring the boiling water either. You have to actually throw it so that you spread the water out.
While this might not be superhuman, it's great do-it-yourself science in action.
It's a magical looking cloud in a very frosty environment.